School A. I've been looking forward to this since the draw was made on Saturday, wasn't it? Saturday afternoon in the town hall here at Henley. We had an unlikely clash of St Edward's School boats.
Yeah, as a head coach, or I was talking to Adam Moffat last night as director of rowing at Teddy's. It was really interesting talking about this, which one's going to win. And he's like, well, we're going to go through, so that's good.
That's the thing, isn't it? You're guaranteed one boat in the next round.
But the thing is, like, you want your athletes to have an ongoing experience. Unfortunately, one of them, their experience is going to end today. And it's also hard racing your kind of other teammates who are in another boat.
So this is junior women quad sculls. We've got this competition since 2012. Have to be under 18 before last September the 1st. And we've got the live shots now. And my money's on St Edward's School, Mark.
Definitely, and preferably A, I guess. You got your top athletes in the A boat.
Well, that's really interesting. So you were talking to the coach, and I think you reported that they didn't mind too much and that it was guaranteed. But surely you'd want your A boat. That would justify your selections and prove that your coaching is. Oh, hang on, let's just keep a look on St Edward's School B, who are heading towards the boom on the Berkshire station. Now they've overcompensated, they're heading back out to the middle, so they're having some steering crisis in the St Edward's School B. But as a coach, surely you want your A boat to go through it.
Yeah, you enter all various boats into the regatta. You want them all to progress. As a coach, you want all your athletes to kind of continue through the regatta. It's hard when you draw your A boat be your B boat. Your selection process would say that your A boat should be faster, but it's also tough for their teammates. These young ladies are all teammates. They train together every day, and going up against your training partners, if you want to call it that, in an actual event is sometimes quite difficult.
Hermione Brewster, Roxy Welford, Kaylee Batchelor and Elsa Marino in the A boat, the lead boat at the moment. Different sort of pressure for them as well. They've got to prove their worth, haven't they?
Yeah, and there's no, they can't really win, if that makes sense. They're expected to, so they have to go out and go from A to B and make sure they cross that line first, no matter what. They're moving really well, and I think what's been great, these different events, Jubilee Challenge Cup, what's been able to do. You think St Edward's weren't racing in this event a couple of years ago. Now they've got two boats racing it, so the impact that the events are having on young athletes wanting to compete at Henley from schools that may have not done certain events before has been huge.
And if you're overseas, you might not be aware, St Edward's School just up in Oxford, so 20 miles from where we stand at the finish line here at Henley Royal Regatta, so they'll have loads of support down the river and ready to cheer them on. And yeah, good reflection on what's going on at the school, the fact they've got two boats.
And one good thing as a coach, I guess, if you've got several crews, then one might be racing now, one might be racing in the middle of the day.
Yeah, I was thinking, logistically, it makes your life a lot easier, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah, that's a good thing. Especially if the athletes will be staying locally. They probably won't be staying in Oxford because obviously they don't want to commute in all the time, so they may be staying in the house together. So,
And it's a great picture for your brochure, isn't it? The St Edward's School marketing department, they're loving this.
That is very true. Yeah,
I reckon this will be front page of their magazine.
Yeah, especially if they've got that image of sitting them on the start. The two boats sitting side by side. Yes.
Henley Royal Regatta day one.
Look at that, you're doing their marketing for them, Tim.
Well,
that's brilliant.
They can pay for it if they want. And just watching the B boat heading out into the mid-water again, it's a very, very tough event, isn't it?
Yeah,
the steering and the tactically getting the line rise.
And that skill element of steering is, very challenging because they'd have been used to being on a course where they've got buoys either side of them, so they can kind of navigate off those. But just having the white booms on either side of you can sometimes be quite daunting. And especially, I remember as being a young athlete, you were petrified of them. Even as a senior athlete, you're still petrified of them because if you touch them, it's game over. So you're always trying to err on the side of caution and not go too close to them, but sometimes you drift out too far.
And presumably the likes of you and I now standing here talking about them so much just adds to the mystique and the scariness of the whole thing. It's a bit like a golfer on the tee looking at the water and looking at the woods and looking at all the rough rather than looking at the fairway. It gets imprinted in your brain, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I suppose it's the way that the imagery that you create around that, isn't it? If you see them as a deterrent, that it's a worry, it's going to be a panic, then your mind will drift towards that rather than actually I can steer down this course, I can steer on a straight line, it's going to be fine.
And in terms of the current, because we've had a fairly dry start, we've had a couple of downpours, but basically the last fortnight's been dry, and so you'd think there'll be that would reduce the haphazard nature of some of these races. Right, St Edward's School A, as planned, are progressing through in the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup. It was a fascinating match-up. It wasn't a particularly kind draw made, but that's how it's worked out. And St Edward's School A have knocked out their schoolmates St Edward's School B on day one of the Diamond Jubilee Challenge Cup.